Okay, well, hey, we're talking about getting our employees to focus on what's important. Well, what is important? A business has a business plan, and ultimately we're asking the employees to deliver on the fulfillment of that business plan. The business plan probably calls for sustainable growth. No shareholder is satisfied with flash-in-the-pan, one-time results. Everybody's looking for results that can be sustained over time. This calls for growth in the company. We can't stay stagnant and expect to satisfy the shareholders. And so we've got to provide an appropriate return on capital for the shareholders, or shareholders will take their capital and go somewhere else, leaving us all out of work. So we've got to make sure that we, as employees, focus on the most critical and crucial results that the shareholders are expecting us to achieve. So therefore, what we're asking employees to do is make good decisions. We're asking employees to be accountable for daily behavior that's designed to fulfill the business plan, to spend their time, their thought process, their efforts in productive ways to accomplish that plan. So accountable decision-making that reflects awareness of their impact on the plan is essential. Employees must understand the kinds of behaviors that will lead to the results that are desired. Ideally, if those results are achieved, this creates the opportunity for the employer to share more of the new value that's created with the employees through the compensation plan. So we're looking for a win-win result here, producing a great return for the shareholder and participating in an organization that recognizes those contributions and shares some of those returns with the employees. That's what we're really trying to get to the bottom of today. So we need a dedicated and committed effort from our employees. They've got to understand what's expected and then work towards it. We hear this term ownership mentality. It's a term that is clear on its surface. People understand and relate to this concept. Do employees have an ownership mentality? Do they act and think like owners? To do so, really four things have to be accomplished. First, they have to understand the company's goals. And this has to be in pretty concrete economic terms. It's wise to share a significant portion, if not all, of the economic results being strived for with employees. Now, in the public marketplace, this, of course, is common because all of that information is shared and at the ready. But in a privately owned company, very often much of this information, or sometimes none of the information, is shared. And at a minimum, little is shared. And so now what we have to do is make certain that we find effective ways to communicate the expected economic results that the shareholders have with the employees so that they can understand what we're really trying to accomplish. Secondly, the achievement of those goals must be important to the employee. In other words, it may be important to the shareholder, and that's great, but if it's not important to the employee, it's not going to affect behavior and decision-making in a meaningful and significant way. Thirdly, the employee has to make a contribution, they have to see how they can make a contribution to the goals. So if you say to the employee, look, here's our goals, and look, this is what it may mean to you if we achieve those goals, well, that's great. But if the employee cannot see precisely how he or she can impact the achievement of those goals, in other words, what contribution is expected from them, and making certain they understand how to make that contribution, then we're certainly less likely to achieve the ultimate outcome. Then last, the employee needs to see the connection between the company's goals and the achievement of his or her own personal goals. So I want to be able to create a link. Forgive me if I call it a vision link. I want to see the link between the shareholders' goals and my own goals. And so here, if we have an employee, watch this employee just morph over time into an owner who is now thinking and acting like an owner. Why? Because they have a clear understanding of where the organization is headed, what the goals are for the organization. They see the importance of the attainment of those goals. They know what contribution is expected from them, and they see the connection between the achievement of those goals and the fulfillment of their own personal goals. So let's get inside the mind of this employee owner here, owner in quotes. We're not talking about necessarily actually giving stock to employees. We rarely recommend that in privately held companies because there are better alternatives when it comes to compensation than stock. But the fact is we want this employee here to be thinking like owners and like an owner and behaving like an owner. So we've got to give him a clear understanding of where we're headed, an understanding of how important that is, making certain he understands what contribution he can make, and then seeing the connection between the employer goals and his personal goals. So daily decision making is what we're trying to get down to on a granular basis. We want the employees to be able to answer the questions, what has to happen, what can enhance the achievement of those goals, and what can hinder, what will likely hinder the achievement of those goals. And so what we're really talking about is creating what we call future company. If you've been with us before, you've heard us talk about this. We're living in the present company, but we're striving to build and create the future company. Future company, you'll see, is bigger, more profitable, and it may even be doing some things differently than we're doing today in present company. So we need what's standing between present company and future company is some time and decision making by the employees. And so the employees are trying to help grow the company over time. They're trying to move it forward, but occasionally decisions get made that push it back. And so there's this give and take between effective decision making and poor decision making to help the company grow here. And yes, that does look like Mickey Mouse's hands there, and I was going to do my Mickey Mouse voice for you, but it's not very good. But we're all here, and we're moving the company forward and trying to make sure we're overcoming the obstacles in our path until we achieve and fulfill and create future company. And, okay, a little simplistic perhaps, but just want to drive home the point that we're talking about the daily behavior of our employees, how to influence that behavior so that we get great decision making and achieve our long-term results.